said, we're just not going to do this anymore. We don't want to live like this. And it was in that moment that I was standing at work watching the sunrise and through the trees, and it was in that moment like light just burst out of my chest and it was coming out of my eyes. It was bright, bright yellow, and it was like the most. It felt like I did it, like a high five from somebody above. They were like, "You did it, like you did it. You made the choice. Just hang on now, and everything's going to be good." That was like the understanding.
Hi, Heath. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to hear your story. So I'm not going to get in the way of things. I'm just going to hand it over to you. And yeah, if you could just tell us a little bit about who you are and what happened.
Okay, so right now I'm 41. I live in Tampa, and my life was pretty normal till I'd say about 3 years ago. Um, Around that time, I was kind of looking for, what I was supposed to be doing in this world. I was working and I was doing everything society said. And it really wasn't adding up. It wasn't bringing me what I was looking for. I had a family. I loved my family. I had a job. It paid the bills, but there was something missing, and my body knew that. So it was kind of putting me in situations to make me realize, what it was missing. And I realize now that it was doing that pretty much my whole life. But I just kept trusting my brain over my heart. And so I just kept pushing off that choice until one day I was, like I said, I think I was 38 at the time. And I decided I didn't want to do this anymore. The whole thing, the drinking and going through society and coping and all of that. And I just kind of was honest with myself in that one moment. And I told myself, I said, we're just not going to do this anymore. We don't want to live like this. And it was in that moment that I was standing at work watching the sunrise and through the trees, and it was in that moment like light just burst out of my chest and it was coming out of my eyes. It was bright, bright yellow, and it was like the most. It felt like I did it, like a high five from somebody above. They were like, "You did it, like you did it. You made the choice. Just hang on now, and everything's going to be good." That was like the understanding. So for me, like I don't really see things the way other people do. I just feel them. So I try not to label things. I try not to say it was this or it was that. So for me, it was just an experience that I had that changed my perception. And from that moment, that was how I realized how you solve every problem in life. It's just to change your perception and to follow your heart. So that's really where it all started for me. From there was tons of other things that happened, but that was the one that kind of opened the door. And then a little later on down the road, I found a blue jay feather, and it reminded me of like a bunch of past lives and things that I knew that I could do but hadn't done yet. And that's where the sound came in, and that's where the whole next level with the channeling and all that kind of stuff. But once again, it's like I do it my own way. I don't look for the labels that other people do. Like I don't really like to call it channeling because it's all me. It's all just different parts of me. I like to think of it more as like my subconscious, and it handles things when it needs to. So that's kind of where the walk-in aspect comes from, because I'm definitely the same person, but I'm not the same person as I was before. Because basically, like the way I see a walk-in is like your higher self comes down to you. So it's not really a different soul. It's just you have a better connection with yourself, so you can be yourself and no longer have to be tied to let's call it the perception of yourself that society kind of created, or you created with society. So yeah, that was pretty much how it started, and from there it's been just learning and just trusting my intuition on everything I do. I don't cross my heart at all anymore. I do exactly what it says every time it says it now. Sometimes I wait a little bit. I say, give me a minute, give me a month, give me a week. But Yeah, so since then I lost 100 pounds. I feel great. Like I said, I can channel and like that's basically what I do on Facebook now is just help people answer questions and stuff. People will be asking spiritual questions, so I just tune into that channel and just tell them what they're saying. And I just approach everything with the simplicity and from the heart. So that way, it doesn't matter what question you're asking, the details don't matter. There's a simple solution to it. So that's pretty much what I'm working on doing now. Is my career is sound healing and providing people simple solutions. And I just found out I could do Reiki. I didn't know what it was. I was telling people I could send energy to them, and
Mhm.
it's like a snake and it moves and everything. But I didn't, like I was saying, everything I do, I just figure it out, and then I have to ask other people, "Hey, you know what this is? Do you know what I'm doing here?" So,
Wow. Well, I think, a lot of people talk about having a Kundalini awakening, but this is different. I
mhm.
think it's almost like you said, it's a perception thing. Something coming through you, and it's that connection that was not there before. And I think everybody
Yeah,
has that. They just lost that connection. So
yeah.
does everybody, I mean, how would somebody do that? Is it just something that happened for you that was part of your life plan, do you think?
Well, for me, like I looked into the Mayan Tolkien, and if you look into the Tolkien, one of the more accurate ones that's to this calendar, the modern calendar, it'll tell you exactly what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then what you need to do to achieve your life's objective. And it's really weird, but it lines up like every time for almost every person. And you just have to change the perception that you're looking at that. So people might say, oh, well, I don't have a problem with, planting seeds or, reaping a harvest and getting goals and all that. And so, yeah, you might not perceive the problem, but you're creating one in the way that you're doing it. So that's one way that I like to apply that to people so they can get an understanding because I did it the other way. I just experienced everything, opened myself up to everything, and then connected all the dots through synchronicities. But then
Mhm.
when I went back and looked at like the Tolkien, it was just 100% accurate. So that's the way that I would suggest anybody do it if they want to do it from the mind. If you want to do it from the heart, it's a different thing. You just open up and you listen and you trust the birds and you trust everything and then the messages will come together when you stop looking for them.
Yeah. So how else has your life changed? Have you lost friends? Have you got different kind of people that you hang around with? Because I've heard stories that people lost pretty much everything they knew.
Yeah, I mean, I when I had that first experience, I decided that I was going to be me, and that was going to include my family. And there was
Okay.
no, that was just a choice that I made. So I think it's up to you what you want to lose. I mean, there were plenty of times I could have walked away from my wife and my family because it was overwhelming and there was so much going on. I remember one time I went to a channel over in St. Pete, but it wasn't like I was out looking for, I just trusted my instincts and my finger touched this channel's message me now thing. And I just started typing, can I bring my dog? And she messaged me right back, said, yeah, bring your dog. So like, that's what I just let my intuition handle that stuff. If I don't know what to do or how to act, I call it like throwing a spear in the dark. You
Hmm.
just throw it up in the air and see where it lands.
So how was that for your wife? Because I know we attract people that are the same vibration. So if you suddenly shift, they didn't get that insight that you did.
Well, the thing was, she was always ahead of me because she
Okay.
operates very heavily in her mind. So she sees things from above most people. So she was really the one who kind of coaxed me out of my shell all those years. She kept, telling me these things, telling me. So I knew everything I needed to do for the last 5 years with drinking and, and doing what I need to do for myself and bettering myself and boundaries. And so she was like my number one coach. She basically,
Awesome.
she told me all the life lessons in the material form, that's where and that's not my strong suit in the material world. I do much better in the spiritual world now that I know that. Um, so yeah, she was like my number one support structure. She gave me the space I needed to grow. Because there was a while there I was just away. You know what I mean? Like the 30 days that Jesus spent in I was pretty much doing that in the desert. Um, just, going to work and coming home and just trying to find myself. So, I'm very grateful to have her around, and she really pulled me through and showed me the way and said, look, there's your heart, go get it, go pick it back up. And then she gave me the space to do that. So
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think so. That's actually what happened was her guidance helped you to keep up.
find mine.
Otherwise, the relationship would just separate. You either grow together or you grow apart.
Yeah. So, and then now that I grew, so I would say spiritually and emotionally, um, she sees that she's following me right along. She's
That's
dealing
right.
with any kind of trauma she had, where she's actually making great progress. So, and the thing is, like, I kept telling her what I was doing, and she kept being like, I know. And I'm like, well, you don't know because it's not applying right. Like, you would understand if you knew. But she knew. She has to do things her own way. Like, I have to do things my own way.
Yeah,
And that's what I think is the most important, finding your own way to do everything.
no, I agree. So tell me about the snakes, the energy. Do you see snakes? Is it like a channel? How does
Um,
that work?
Basically, I feel it like a rhythm. So like it helps if the other person's listening to the same music because it
Hmm.
creates the same entrainment of the brain. And then I can basically just, it's, it's like I feel the energy come out of my arm and then go out. And then I don't feel it for a little bit because it kind of like instantly picks up where it's supposed to be. And then I feel it at the person. So it's like it leaves me, it's gone for a second, and then it's at the other person, and then it comes in through their arm and like up to their heart. And then if they're open or allowing me, it'll go through their heart, and then it kind of I move like this as I do it, and I whistle, do the whistling sounds and stuff, and it'll I can move it up and move it around their body and go around chakras and stuff, and I'll just get a feeling of what's got something plugging it or something around it. And then I'll just whistle around that for a while. And then it goes back out their foot, and back into the ground and back into me. And then I turn like on a pump and I just pump the energy all the way through until it's smooth. So yeah, I talked to somebody, they said that's Reiki. I didn't really know if that's what I was doing. But
Okay. Well, I think everybody's got their way of doing Reiki as well. Some people do
okay.
codes and let their hands just move around. There's no intention behind it. And other people just focus their intention without doing anything with their hands.
Yeah, it's kind of like your perception, like what you have to tell yourself to be able to see it happening or see it working. And
Mm,
that's what I'm thinking, anyways, because I've noticed that's how everything works for me. If I
mm,
can see it in a way that is possible, then I can do it. Like as in magic or, like any kind
mm.
of otherworldly stuff.
Would you say that's like your higher self channeling the energy through you, or or are you channeling other energy?
See, like the thing is, I never really labeled what it is. So I know when it's my higher self because he's very clear. He's very direct. He has almost no humor. He's just like, he just wants to solve problems. Like that's his thing. So he
Okay.
just wants to like tell you the answer and he wants you to do it and move forward with that in that way. Um, but then I do channel, and I think it depends on the person. So if I'm working with somebody who's big into angels and stuff, like I started perceiving angels all of a sudden. I wasn't, I was raised a Catholic, but I never really like took any particular like, meaning from any particular angel. But now that I look back at my childhood, I did have a cross with the Holy Spirit on it, and I always like kept that in a sacred box, and I had a green rosary. So like I was always spiritual, even as a little kid, but I didn't know what any of it meant until I got older. So like the Holy Spirit has always been with me my whole life. Like when I was little, I remember I fell in a river and I was tumbling up and down and the bubbles were rolling by and the sunlight was coming in and I was just calm and peaceful. And I wasn't worried about drowning or anything. And I was about to go over the dam, but then all of a sudden I ended up on a rock and I was just standing there on the rock, and like my mother and like the lifeguard and stuff were yelling, "Get out! You're gonna go over the dam and all this." And I was just like, "What are you guys all worried about? You know, like apparently nothing's going to happen. I can float around underwater and just pop up whenever I need to." Yeah, so I had quite a few experiences like that, but all that stuff didn't really come back until I opened and reprocessed my whole life again. Kind of once I found that blue jay feather, I created this deep connection with the earth. So, um, like, I think that's where a lot of these different powers or gifts or whatever come from. It's from my
Mm.
connection to the earth. Because at first I started just seeing signs from birds and stuff. Like a bird would land in a tree, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's weird. I feel like courage. I feel like like I need to do something." Um, and so like it translated into a whole new language of feeling, and then now that feeling is turning into a channel. So that's
Mm.
kind of how I see it working for me. It's like I learned a new language through assimilation, and now it's being applied into direct words.
Yeah. Well, it is a different language. Spirit doesn't speak in words, it speaks in symbols and what's happening around you. People just need to look and they will see what the meaning is in that. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of women are more connected than men. So it's not often that men are connected. And when they are, they seem to be better at it. It's weird. But it's like there's less men, but they're better. I don't know.
Well, I
Do you
think because
find that?
I think we have a simpler form of communication. We can do it with less words, I think. We're less word oriented. Men in general, we're more visual and what's the other part? Not creative, but like direct in our communication. So it leaves
Yeah.
less room for, the picture doesn't have to be as clear. If they show me something in my head, it means less to me.
Okay, so
So
you don't
it's a
read too
clear.
much into it. It just is. It's like that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing. Okay.
And like a
Right.
lot of it too is that I don't worry about the accuracy of what I tell people specifically. So like I was talking to this one lady and I told her this a baby blue car. And she asked me if she was going to be homeless, and I said no. I just knew it instantly. You're not going to be homeless, but you need to change your perception about you know. And she goes, well, am I going to be living in my car? And I said, is that what you're concerned about? Is that the problem that you're worrying about? And she's like, yeah, I don't want to live in a car. And I said, well, you don't want to be homeless either, do you? And she kind of understood at that moment that she was just focusing on the negative. So I
Mm.
didn't answer her question. I didn't tell her, what was going to happen to her. I just put her straight where she needed to be and told her what she needed to hear. And then later she told me, she goes, well, the car is actually silver. And I said, well, that's all right, because it wasn't the car that was what was important.
Yeah, that's it. And again, it goes through your filter. So, do you remember past lives? Did that happen as part of your?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, the thing is, like, I only remember in feeling. Like, I might get a picture. Like, I remember clearly being in, like, I always thought it was the Amazon, but now that somebody kind of told me they saw something different and they said it was Mexico, and I understand now because I had been saying I want to go to the Mexican pyramids, the Aztec pyramids, and the Mayan pyramids forever, like for the last 2 years, 3 years. And I understand why, because, like, a lot of that bird whistling and the weird sounds and stuff could come from the Toltec culture. Um, for some reason, I call it Tiltek. And like when I do chants, I'll get into channeling them, and I'll bring in a lot of that energy with the deep, the guttural sounds, and it's like a very heavy grounding energy. So I guess in their culture, they were very grounded to the earth, and I think that's part of what I'm bringing back to modern society is a lot of the old shamanic ways. But I'm doing them in a new way. I'm not following the rituals. I'm applying the same principles to the modern world.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that snake-like movement reminds me of the shamanic way of doing stuff. So it's clearly a remembrance that you're
Yeah,
tapping into.
yeah. No, I definitely I remember the Toltec, the time there, and I remember a lot of guilt and like pain from that time. And then I remember Japan, and doing like I started doing like Tai Chi just randomly, like Tai Chi karate type moves, but I don't know them. I'm just doing them, and it feels normal. And when I do them, it creates that same state of like heightened awareness. So yeah, there's definitely some time in Japan. And then I also feel like Southeast Asia, like Laos or Cambodia or something like that. I spent some time there. A lot of old. I feel like a deep connection to a lot of old cultures in India. Like I'll start chanting things in what's the word? The culture of the language. I can't remember that, but the language they speak and mostly in India.
Okay.
So yeah, but the thing for me is like it's never a clear picture saying, oh, this is what you did, this is who you were. It's just a feeling, because everything's just feelings for me. I just feel it, and I understand that that's what it was. And then later I connect the dots. Like when I talk to other people, I'll be like, oh, that sounds really familiar, and I'll look something up, and then I'll get a vision, like an instant vision of what that meant for me or what I did at that time. Because a lot
So
of
did
like
you kind of,
spiritual work.
yeah. Did you
Oh,
get a feeling like this is now what your purpose is? Because you were
oh yeah,
saying that's what you didn't want to do. So is this what you are
yeah.
doing?
hmm
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life is healing music, meditation music, helping people, counseling people. But the thing is, I'm not going to do it like society wants me to. I'm not going to go get all the papers. I'm not going to do all this stuff. I'm just going to set up my own place, and people are going to come to me who want to come to me.
Uh-huh.
Because
So how
that's
do you
the
do
thing
the
is we
sound
don't make
healing? Are
that.
you making your own music, or are you just
Um, well, it all started when I started chanting in meditation. Then I found I could do like didgeridoo sounds, like
yeah.
so. From there, it just expanded. I started doing different sounds. I started doing whistling sounds. Um, and what I find is, since I opened my throat chakra, that's really when all that happened. When I started speaking up for myself at my employers and all around in my life. So once I opened that up, that's what gave me the power to kind of change people's perception with sound. So like if I say something in a certain tone or I say it in an off tone beat, they're more likely to listen. And I don't know that I don't know that I don't turn it on and off. It's just that's what I do when I'm helping people. So like if they're really emotional and they can't, get a grip on what they're doing and they can't hear what I'm saying, I'll speak in a rhythm that's unusual and they'll start to listen better. So those are just like it's just weird things that come to me to be able to help people. So that's what I want to bring out to this world. I really want to create like a holistic center and have a recording studio in the back and just invite artists and just healers and artists and just everybody just make music and have fun and really start a whole community. That's my goal.
Yeah, I find it so interesting in this country where I stay. The black people are very musical, and white people are not musical. And it's
You know
it's
what?
weird. It's like you lose track with the roots because everywhere you go, they dancing. There's
hmm
music always playing.
Well, that's funny because that's really what held me back my whole life. Is it was don't know why it happened, but I never was allowed to take music in high school or I think the last time I took it was like fifth grade or sixth grade. It just kept getting pushed off the plate for science and stuff. And oh, you can't take music this year because there's no room. And I always loved music. And then when I got to college, it kind of opened up. Like I felt free enough to dance, and I started playing harmonica and singing songs and everything kind of changed at that point. And then I stepped back off the path again. I was like, oh man, yeah, you know what I mean? So
As one does.
yeah, I got 2 feet on it now and I'm not going anywhere.
Well, I find it interesting that because I never thought about it that way. If you get your musical rhythm in tune with somebody else's, it is a good way to harmonize. It's almost like me as a coach, I mirror people, not
Yeah.
deliberately, I find, but if someone sits like this, I might be sitting like this. It's almost that unconscious,
Mhm.
a connection. But music does the same. It's actually very powerful.
Yeah, there's a scientific, explanation for it called entrainment. So basically, if two frequencies are resonating next to each other, they'll reach a point of um, equilibrium.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's like equal resonance. So that the same thing happens in your brain. They call it entrainment. So if I'm putting out a certain rhythm and a certain beat, and then you hear it long enough, you'll start to move with that same rhythm and that same beat.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they talk about people living in a certain household together. They start thinking the same, having the same words, or you start
Yeah,
living in tune. So, but it's just music is the other brain. It's your
yeah, it
right
really
brain,
is.
which is connecting yourself. And I think so. Okay, to connect with yourself or your soul is not about working harder. It's about letting go of your identity. Would that be
Yes,
more accurate to say?
yeah,
So it's
yeah. There's nothing
actually
you need to
stop
do.
blocking.
Yeah, you need to stop doing things. Yeah, you need to feel who you are and let that person come out. That's really how it works. Because if you are afraid, so for me, like drinking was my biggest thing that kept that in the closet because I couldn't be myself when I drank. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
impossible. I had to be, gregarious and outgoing and over the top, and I just had to be because that's what everybody said you had to be when you drank. So I used that for years. I used smoking, like if things were uncomfortable, I would go outside and smoke. You know what I mean? Like instead of dealing with it. So now I just every emotion I feel, I face it head on, and every situation I'm in, I go, well, this is where we are. So, and
But
that's
don't you
that's
find
really
that
what
it
it's
becomes
about.
addictive, that feeling? Like
It does, yeah.
connecting with self is the high.
It is, and that's another aspect of it. Is you have to be careful, like you know, when you're that connected, you do still have to hold on to your ego. People say like, "Oh, let go of your ego." No, you don't want to do that. It's like your anchor. If you let go of that, your ship's going to be all over the place. So that's one of the reasons I try not to label things, and I try not to say I'm talking to this
Mm.
person or that God or whatever. I experience it and I go, oh, that's interesting. It had this flavor, but I don't like say that that's what it was because then you're certain and then you're creating that reality that you're doing this and you're letting go of your real reality that you're experiencing in your body. And that's something that I almost experienced when I was kind of like losing it. And I had to Spirit had me call the channel. Anyways, her name was Danny, and she's in St. Pete. She's really good if anybody needs any help with anything locally. And yeah, so she taught me how to ground, and that kind of pulled me out of that. So now that's what I do whenever I feel like I have too much energy. Like just a little, I think it was about a week ago, I was experiencing Christ consciousness for like 5 days straight, and it was like it was getting heavy, but it was because I had all this stuff coming, I had an interview coming. I'm working with a mentor. I'm not sure if you're Tom Kenyon. Basically, has been doing this kind of work for like 30, 40 years. He does meditation music. He channels the Hathors, among others. And, he's kind of mentoring me now. And all this stuff came onto my plate real quick in the last like week and a half because they're saying like, hey, you need all this energy, you need to do all this stuff, you need to get all this done. So I'm just doing it, doing it, doing it. But it was a lot. I mean, I say Christ consciousness is like a go-getter. He will not let you rest. He's like, no, 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 you don't need to sleep. Just keep getting to work, keep helping people, he's like, no, no, go over here, go over around the corner and there's somebody over there that needs to hear something. Like he really will not let you like take a minute to like drop the ball. Well, I think it's because you feel so much love. You know, you just you just want to keep going. There's almost no need to stop doing anything.
Yeah, you forget you have a body that needs rest.
Yeah, and that's where my wife comes in. She'll be like, "Have you eaten today?" And I'll be like, "No, I don't think I have."
Was that part of the weight loss?
That is part of it. Yeah, I finally did stabilize though. I've stayed at like 180 now for like a while. For a while, I was actually a little concerned. I was like, "Oh man, I just keep losing weight." But it was like,
Mm.
the other part is I got into herbal remedies and treatments and stuff, and I just kind of knew what I needed. So I just started getting stuff and taking it. And it's funny because I only take a little teeny bit. Like if it says, 2 capsules twice a day or whatever, or, 1 tablespoon or whatever it is, I'll just do like the tiniest amount. And that's what actually gave my body everything it needed to heal itself over time. So that's another part of opening. When you open your throat chakra, you can have spontaneous regeneration of your body, like physical body.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've been not been able to smell for about 2 years now. And I've been working on this for bloody ever.
Mm.
And I know that it's a blockage that I have. I don't know what it is.
I can feel it's your
Um,
throat chakra right now.
you think so? Is it?
Hmm.
No, my ears are
You haven't
stinging.
said
That's
something about something, but I mean, I won't get into details, but
you're welcome to. I any help will be appreciated.
I can do I can channel some energy over there and do the whistling sound like towards your throat and see if it opens up. I did this for a girl at a kava bar the other day and she was
Yeah.
crying. She was like, "Oh my gosh." She's like, I can feel it and it was she said it was vibrating. And
Wow.
so yeah, I'll see if I can do that.
Okay. Sure.
All right. So I did feel something. I don't know if you felt something vibrating, shaking around.
I
Um,
actually just saw black stuff
come
coming
out.
up. Mm.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That means that you saw it and you let it go.
I don't know if it's up. It just felt like it was coming up from through my throat and going up towards my eyeballs here.
Yeah,
It's
so
weird.
basically I pretty much just worked on your throat and your heart a little
Hmm.
bit and then I did that. I pushed it when I went and I pushed it up
Oh
to
wow.
kind of
Okay.
shoot it out at the top. Um
Interesting.
and then I cycled energy through to kind of pick up whatever wouldn't move out on its own.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what like I've been trying to tell people like I'm a healer of healers now. I'm not just a healer, like I can heal
Mm.
people who have gifts because they already are open to it and I can just bam, just fix them like that in a second. If you're already open to it, it only takes like a second. If you're not
Yeah.
open to it, it takes, some effort and some believing because I'm not really doing anything to anybody. I'm just, kind of like Jesus did, just saying it's okay, you can heal yourself.
Yeah. You're being a facilitator more than anything
Yeah,
else. It's just a guide.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, the thing is, healers are here to heal, and the more work they can do, the faster we can free the planet, free humanity.
Yeah, that's
So
that's my
it's
goal here is
important.
to get
Yeah, you can't
get
just
working.
do one person at a time. It's going to take too long. So the more people that we can reach, the quicker it will happen.
I wanted to start doing live streams, like
Hmm.
on TikTok, perhaps. I guess I got to get some more viewers or something. But if I get up to enough people, I could do like a whole group of people at once, like that, and just go through them all, and then come back out and you know, like get just realign a bunch of healers.
Well, again, it's just, are you open to it? If people are, I don't see why it wouldn't grow. It's just a matter of being consistent and showing up, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what message would you give to people that are struggling?
Um. Well, there's for a direct message to somebody who's going through stuff, I would say follow your heart first off. Find it, listen to it, because it'll never lie to you and it'll never do you wrong. It doesn't matter if your brain thinks that what it's saying is inaccurate. Don't don't worry about it. Just do what your heart says. It'll move things. It'll change things. It'll get the ball rolling. And once you're there, and then just keep trusting it. That's really all it is. It's going to show you how to be vulnerable. It's going to teach you how to have compassion. It's going to show you how to love completely. It's going to show you everything that you need to know. There's nothing else that you need to know because the heart is knowing. So when you work from the heart, you know everything, and you don't have to find solutions. You don't have to look for answers, and then it's just going to make your life easier. So that would be my number one thing: is find your heart and follow it.
Oh, I love that. I think a lot of people are using the word authentic nowadays, but what exactly does it mean anyway? It's just about being you and
Yeah,
just take the mask off, you know. And we
yeah.
taught to fit in. Your whole life you go to school and you taught to fit in, and then you get older and they tell you no, stand out. And you've been so trained and indoctrinated not to show emotion, not to
Hmm.
feel anything. And now when you feel something, you don't trust it anymore. People need to learn how to trust their
That's
feeling and go with it.
that's one thing I learned is vulnerability. Like I'm a grown man and I cry in front of anybody I want to, anytime I want to. I cry if I'm happy. I cry, in public if I see something amazing. Is just be vulnerable. That's the biggest thing. If you can be vulnerable, you can be yourself because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do because you're you.
Yeah, I find the more you release, the more you cry. And
Yeah,
I've got tissues on every table in my house. It's just because
yeah.
how much
That's
more, but it is. It's the beauty of it. It's beauty that actually makes me cry more. It's not sadness. It's just wow.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's really what it is now. Like I just cry when I look at the sky, and I see a bird fly over my head. It's every day is like that. I look at the ground, I'll get on all fours and be looking at the ants in the dirt, and I'm just like, wow, this is beautiful. It's just like, that's the place where you want to be because what are you going to do otherwise? You're just going to complain and argue and fight and have problems, right?
That's exactly. And that's what children do. They look at the
Yeah.
bugs and they dig into stuff and want to feel and touch, and we get so unlearned of that. So just
Hmm.
quickly going back, the drinking, what was that? Was it a learned behavior, or was it a way for you to kind of like
Um,
fit in and
well, I get the understanding that I basically agreed to give myself 38 years of the inability to choose myself, choose what was best for me. Because all those years, I couldn't do it. It's just there was no choice. You know what I mean? Like it was like it was off my radar to stop. It just I couldn't. And anybody who confronted me and asked me to, I would get like angry. You know what I mean? Like so there was I just it wasn't in my depth to be able to do it. So I believe and I feel like it was. I had 38 years. I agreed to not use any of my gifts or my powers or my skills or anything like that I was until I'd felt enough pain, and I understood. And that's why I feel like when that light came and burst out of me, that's why I got that you did it, you made it, because like they were like, I don't think he's gonna make it anymore. I don't think he's gonna. I think he's done. So I think they kind of threw me a bone at that moment. They were like, he's close enough. He's 38. We'll call it.
yeah, it almost like putting something in your mouth is just suppressing. It's pushing something
Oh yeah,
down
the
and
physical
saying,
action. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
also,
And
I
I
can't
know.
alcohol's it just doesn't work for me anymore.
Yeah, like what's funny is I can like if we go out to a restaurant, really only like a Japanese restaurant, I'll have like a hot sake, but that's about it. Like I don't really want any, but something about hot sake, I think it reminds me of Japan, feudal Japan or something.
Well, the
But
thing is, we've probably had thousands of lives. There'll just be certain ones that really stand out that have something to do with this lifetime. So,
oh
would you say it's yeah, Karen?
oh, I was just going to add one more thing about addiction. So the thing with that is I've got a new perspective on it as well. It's not about stopping doing anything. It's about allowing yourself to do it until you're done doing it and understanding why you're doing it. So if you don't understand why you're doing it, you can't stop. If you don't let yourself do it, you're going to keep trying to do it. So you have to let yourself do it, and then you have to let yourself stop. And that's something I try to teach people too, because society says, no, you just can't drink. You know, oh, you're an alcoholic, you can't drink. That's not true. You're an alcoholic, and that's a label. You know, that's not who you are. What you're really dealing with is probably your own spirituality. You know, so
Yeah. No, you're right, because it's like dieting. As soon as you tell someone you cannot eat that, that's all you think about. Your
yeah,
brain, your brain goes there, and you'll feel it actually makes it worse. And I think that's why a lot of people just keep yo-yo dieting, because you cannot take something away from your body indefinitely. You need to eat. And if that's the thing
yeah.
you like to eat, you got to find out why it is you like that thing. What
So
is it
what I do
masking?
is yeah, what I do is I starve it out. So like I won't do it for a month, and then I'll give myself permission to do it again. And then I'll see why I was doing it, you know, and I'll be like, oh, I don't even like this anymore. You know, why was I even doing this? And then that in that rediscovery, you create a new perception of the reality you experienced in the past. You're like, oh no, I don't think I did like that. I think I was hurting myself, you know, and I think it was not good for me. And then you're able to make the choice moving forward.
No, totally. And often, I mean, any kind of addiction is filling a void. It's not the thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
And if you can make that choice, then you have power over it. It's not controlling you.
That's really what it comes down to, is because once I gave myself all my power back from drinking, from everything else, you know, everything else I did to put it outside of me, that's when all this stuff started flooding in.
Yeah. Maybe that's what people are afraid of. It's like if I stop, then I have to face my demons, and I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
that
So I'd
really
rather
is.
just keep
Yeah.
suppressing it. And actually, it's
So
not
like,
scary at all.
no, it's not. It's like it's just emotion. You just feel it and you let it go, and then you're done. Just like when I was floating around in the river, you know, upside down, I wasn't scared because there was nothing to be scared of. I hadn't thought about being scared, you know. Fear is a thought. So if you're not thinking, you're not scared. And that's something I realized too. It's like I pretty much don't think at all throughout the day, unless like I'm doing work and you know I need to do some math or something.
I have that too, because your thoughts is actually what causes you pain. It's not
Yeah.
your physical life. The thoughts make you
Hmm.
suffer. But to switch off your thoughts is not so easy when you are buying into them the whole time. That's why meditation is so
Yeah.
powerful, because it just teaches you to stop buying into your thoughts. They're just coming up the same way emotions are coming up.
Yeah. That's where the sound comes in, at least for me.
That
Meditation
makes
sound.
sense.
My whole life I meditated. I just didn't know that's what I was doing because I do it instantly. I just go, I'm meditating. You know what I mean? Like I've always been able to do that, and I thought you had to sit down and spend time and stuff. So I didn't know, like, even when I was a kid, like I would close my eyes and I'd get into this crazy state, and other kids would come and they'd be sitting around me and they'd be you know talking to me, and I'd be doing weird stuff for them, like doing this and stuff. Like I just was a weird kid, and I would do weird stuff that I didn't, you know, that didn't fit in. But just because I've always been able to get into that state like instantly, you know, channel or meditate or whatever, and just produce that energy, like it just comes off of me. You can feel it. It's like it like glows when I do that.
Yeah. No, I think we all have the ability. It's just that we're so blocked, we're so conditioned
Yeah,
to fit into this mold that you lose connection with that higher self. And some people are too scared to go there because they've been trained that it's um, they're not going to be a man, or it's not manly to
yeah.
do
You're
that
not going to
kind
be
of
who you
thing.
think
And
you are. Yeah, that's like the surrender, the letting go. So like you got to let go of like everything. Like I said, the one thing I will not let go of is my family, but that's not due to weakness. That's due to strength. You know.
it's a
So
different approach. It's a choice. It's saying I'm choosing this, not I wouldn't live without it if something had to happen.
yeah, so you're empowering yourself as opposed to the choice taking the power from you.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your wife's definitely on your side anyway, so there's nothing to
Yeah.
nothing to worry about there. Has she grown because of you now? Has it kind of like switched a bit?
Hmm. Yeah, so like I'm giving her her space now to do what she needs to do because for a while it was pretty tough because like I kept telling her all these years who I was, and that's not who's society, that's not a good person in society. That's a lazy person in society. That's a person who doesn't get anything done. That's the person who values themselves over others, you know? But now that she sees that that makes me a better person and that makes me better for everybody,
Yeah.
she's like, okay, I'm going to look into this and I'm going to, face some of my things and I'm going to do it my own way behind the scenes. And I'll let you know if I need any help, but that's what I'm doing. So if I'm upset, if I'm having a bad day, just ask and I'll tell you that's what it is. And we'll move on from there. So yeah, I'm really glad that I was able to help her in that way. And it's funny too, because one of my skills is when I work with people, I do like subconscious things. My subconscious does a lot of it. So I'll be saying things that are mean or hurtful and I'm just like, I'm not trying to hurt you saying this. This has to be said. I need to say this to you. And then later it will all make sense as to why I was saying those mean things because I'll see what I was doing. So basically, like I push the buttons just hard enough that it doesn't set her off, But I'm still pushing them, and she's like, "Arr!" And then eventually she goes, "Fine, stop pushing the buttons," and she'll figure it out on her own. But she doesn't want me to solve her problems. But at the same time, I can't just sit there and do nothing. So like I kind of stir things up, stir things up, stir things up until she bumps into something. But like it's not I'm not doing it. It's just something that I actively do at the same time as she's, I'm like trying to help basically.
Well, isn't that what life's about? I mean, we only
Yeah.
learn and grow through the pain of the experience. Otherwise, we would
Mhm.
just be complacent. We wouldn't change. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that I do for like a lot of people. I notice that now is like even on Facebook, I'll make a comment that's not what I believe or not what I feel, but it brings in all those people who have an issue with that comment, and then you know, they'll start talking to me about it. I'll be like, well, why do you feel like that? Why do you feel like that's wrong? And they'll be like, well, my mom used to do this, or tell me that, or so. So it's like I coax that stuff out of people with their emotional reaction, and because I can be calm to their emotional reaction, bring them back down and then I can, get them past it.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. It's just forcing them to question their own behavior because they're so on autopilot.
Yeah, because they're so uncomfortable by it. Yeah.
Well,
On
I
the
heard a
inside.
story about a guy he had a dog and the dog kept moving around and he looked uncomfortable. And another guy came up to him and said, "Why is your dog moving like this?" And he said, "Well, he's sitting on a nail." And he said, "Well, why don't you help him?" He said, "No, he'll move when it gets painful enough." It's
Yeah,
not
that's pretty
bad.
much how it is.
When you've had enough, you've had enough.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's really what happened to me at that point. Like in my life, I couldn't go any further doing that. And I think
Yeah.
everybody gets to that point if they have that kind of programmed life, where you have certain amount of years you have to go through it. You're gonna have that
Yes.
explosion.
Yeah. Well, some people put that in their life plan that they're going to have these events happen and then, something will happen to wake them up, hopefully. If not, go through it again and again
What's
and
funny
again.
is I missed like I don't even know like 32 callings to wake up. I remember my math teacher was like, "Wow, you can really see things really well in your head." And I kept being like, "Why do you keep saying that? Why are you keep telling me this?" And it didn't make any sense. I had an art teacher who did the same thing. I had so many people throughout my life, but like I said, I don't think I could have chose. They were just like, "I see you. Why can't you see you?" And I was like, "I just can't."
Yeah. You weren't ready.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. You don't know when it's going to happen. You can't predict it. Yeah.
Yeah, really, you can't. You just got to be okay
So,
with it.
so how do people get hold of you? What if they wanted to find out more or
Um,
get some healing?
Probably Facebook would be the easiest. Facebook Messenger is just my name, Heath Coulombe. That's Coulombe. I'm also on TikTok as Earth Shaman 7. That's SHAMAN, the number 7. And I am trying to grow that so I could do live streams and of music and healing and stuff like that. So if anybody wants to, follow me, get me where I need to be, so we can do some more work together, that'd be great. Um, and yeah, that would probably be the best two ways.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for your story. It's inspiring, and
Thank you.
I'm sure. And thank you for the healing. I'll,
Oh,
I'll
you're
keep you
welcome.
posted. Lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, have a fantastic day. Thank you so much. It was lovely to meet you
You too.
and
Thank
to
you.
hear your story. And keep doing the good work you're doing because
Thank
people
you.
need it and they will benefit from it.
I'm definitely gonna.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.